Hotel, Uncle Jocelyn, welcome to another live broadcast of Adults Only. As you can see, I got my man Chaz in the wings waiting to give us some information about our subject matter that we're going to be talking about tonight. And
Yeah,
as
how
you can
y'all doing?
on the bottom of the screen, you see the subject matter is body abuse, but we're talking about obesity in our communities, and this is look like it's about part four. So we've been talking about this for a while. The first thing I want to say is thank you for tuning into this broadcast. It can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we just appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to the truth of how we need to take better care of ourselves because we have a problem. We have a serious problem and we must address that problem. And that problem is obesity. Some people run from it, some people try to hide from it, but we have to attack this thing head on because obesity is the result of us taking in more calories than burned. And so we're going to talk about some things that we can do tonight to help us with this problem. Chaz, right off the bat, do you see obesity as a serious matter in the African American community?
First of all, I don't know if I made myself clear. I want to say thank you once again for bringing me on. And to your question, yes, I do see it as a big problem. Like we mentioned last week, there's children that I've witnessed when you go to your local grocery store. Even our children at the age of 6 and 7, they're even a little bit on the heavy side. And this obesity thing is not going away. In fact, it's rapidly getting worse. So we need to teach our children or grandchildren at a young age how to start to refrain and cutting back a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this then, because a lot of people say, why don't y'all stop talking about obesity? Why do y'all keep on talking about it? This is going on a month and y'all won't let it die. When are y'all going to stop talking about it? Why do y'all keep talking about it?
Well, because for number one, you want to live as long as you can. You don't want your life to be cut short because of health issues, diabetes, stroke, heart attacks. You want to live as long as you can. And then on top of it, we're fighting an unseen battle, which is higher ups in these elites or sin max sin. They want us to die at a certain year. They're plotting on us eating until we die. It just stacking up all this weight, and they know this is a possibility. So we have to keep stressing this because we love you and we want you to live as long as you can. We don't want to go to a man that's 30 years old and we say, "What happened to the man at his funeral? Oh, he died because of a heart attack because he couldn't put down KFC." I mean,
Yeah.
that just to be a crying shame.
Yeah, and it's a serious issue within the African American community, and we like to talk about everything, but we don't like to talk about that which is important. This is paramount, and this
Yes.
is why we must continue to talk about it because even our children, which we're going to talk about later on, even our children are just out of shape, and we're not even addressing those issues. And so that's why we start the broadcast off by talking about the importance of us taking care of ourselves. And here's another reason why we want to do that. The reason why we want to talk about obesity is because I'm going to put up a fact. Here's a fact. African Americans are more obese than
Wow.
any other group in America. And there are many groups in America, and there are many reasons for why we're obese. And yet many of us sit back and we act like everything is going well. And that's the part I don't seem to get, Chaz. A lot of people don't like to bring up the obvious. They see us, men and women. They say that our women are getting more bigger by the second. Our men are as well, but a lot of us don't realize that we're in bad shape. And I'm talking about literally, we're in very, very bad shape. And
Yeah.
someone has to bring that up. There are many groups. And what do you think that the other groups, what is it about us that you think makes us continue to get bigger and bigger?
For number one, and this is not to put anyone that's heavyweight down, any sisters or Mexicans or whites that's listening to this. We're coming at you from love. We're not here to put you down. But like I mentioned last week, we have to address the body positivity, which is instead of saying, you know what, brother, you know what, sister, we need to stop eating so much. But we say, don't criticize that woman or don't criticize that
Yeah,
man. You just hating or you just
yeah.
he's big boned or something like that.
Mhm.
Those are what you call adjectives to make it look better, but we just need to call it out, and we don't have to. And here's the thing: we don't have to do this in front of that person's face. Pull them to the side and say, "You know what, brother? I see your ankles are hanging out your shoes. Let's do
Mhm.
some exercises instead of always exposing a man or woman in broad daylight in front of other people."
That's true. And I want to say hotel to a couple of beautiful queens that's on the broadcast. They actually tuned in. uh, Moody Watt is one that's looking at it, and Queen Zuri as well. They're faithful listeners to the broadcast because I
Shout out
believe
to those sisters.
they know that this is important. But Chaz, here's something I want to address, and then we'll get into some videos and some other information. But I've been seeing this lately, and I want to put this on the screen. It's just something that I noticed, and I want people to realize that we are going to have to look at this. Obesity is excessive body weight, and it also increases the risk of health problems. And I don't think that we see the seriousness. See, I don't know how serious we can be about our health issues when it comes to obesity. I'm talking about all of us, but yet a lot of us hide behind our cell phones, and we don't want to address the elephant in the room, and that is most of us, we're big as we've ever been, and we don't do anything about it. And here's something else I want you to talk about, because now this is something that people are beginning to do that I think is terrible in the African American community, and that's this. We're glamorizing being overweight. We're making this something to be proud of. You know, there are stars, there are entertainers, there are athletes, and now some of them are getting big as a house, and then they say, this is how I am. You know, love me the way I am. I don't care what people say about me. This is me. And it's like, it's not a matter of us not loving that person, but being overweight is a health issue, and someone has to continuously say that.
I'll agree with you spot on. That's what I just talked about the whole body positivity. It ties into what you just mentioned about why we're glamorized and being overweight. And like you said, like Big Pun, a lot of these older guys who've passed away. Big Pun passed away not because it was just his time to go. The man had a lot of health issues. He had a lot of weight and stuff on his ankles and his knees. There was a guy I listened to on YouTube. I forget his name. He told me he's a pizza driver. His doctor told him that he had to lose weight, and when he would try to do his deliveries, he said he had no knee cartilage, no ankle cartilage because of excessive weight, and he just knows now that he has to do something about it. But yes, this body positivity, it has to stop. It has to.
It really does, because a lot of us don't see the severity of it. I'm going to bring up a chart, and we can talk about this, because this is just something that's going to shock you, but I must bring it up. Now, I hope everyone can see this, because we're talking about how prevalent obesity is among us. Now, this is the discussion that we should be having, Chaz. Right. We can talk about everything else under the sun, but we don't like to talk about how many of us are out of shape. We cannot walk 2 blocks without huffing and puffing. We do not exercise. We do not eat right. And this is a serious discussion. But if you look at this map, even though it's outdated, it's probably worse now. But it says prevalence of obesity among Black adults. Now, if you notice, this area down here says that 35% or higher of us are obese. And in these areas, it says 30% to 35% are obese. In this area here, you're looking at 25 to 30%, and then this is 20%, which is all bad. But if you look at this area here, you see a lot of things going on in this cluster, and this is where the majority of the African Americans live in the United States. And so I believe that we're eating the same thing. We're not doing anything about what we're eating. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not going to the doctor as we should. And so you see, this thing has spread it like wildfire. And this is amazing what I'm looking at. And I don't think anyone wants to address this, but we must talk about how obesity is prevalent among us. And so that's why I wanted you to come on tonight to share some ideas and some thoughts, because we're going to also get into some prevention, some things that we can do. But look at this chart. And don't you think this is sad if you look at this chart?
Yes. It's very sad. For number one, I was counting the states as you were talking. For the most part, all those burgundy states like Texas, Oklahoma, and all these states over, it's so much of us that's in this situation. This is not just one state. This is not just one city. Like you said, this is all over, and this is an older map. So I'm pretty sure if they updated it, it's probably way worse than what it is now than what it was back then. So it's just sad that this is the life that we've been accustomed to.
Wow. Well, let's start the process of talking about ways that we can prevent obesity, because people always critique us and say, you guys are always shedding light on the issue, and we do. But then they say, well, you never give application, which is a lie. We do every week. It's just that a lot of people don't listen to it, and a lot of us don't do what the applications say. But here's what I want you to know. We're going to talk about ways to prevent obesity. And the first thing is we're going to look at is this. Avoiding stress, Chaz, prevents obesity. Do you know that some people worry themselves so much? And I didn't get this one at first because I kept saying, how does avoiding stress prevent obesity? But then I thought about it and I said, when people are worried and concerned, we have a tendency to eat.
Yeah.
So when we get worried and we're worried about our children, we're worried about our families, we're worried about the things that we can't change. We don't worry about our health and do anything about it, but we're worried about societal issues. We're worried about finances. And then we begin to eat. So avoiding stress will prevent that. You have anything to say on that one?
I would say that it really boils down to discipline for everybody, and it's not going to happen overnight. As far as the stress, like they always say, you can't stop anything. With you worrying, you just make the problem worse. So I would just suggest with stress, try not to think about it. Whatever's happened is gonna happen. And like you said, when you get stressed or worried, don't start eating. Try to think of other ways to keep yourself occupied. Where if you feel yourself stressed, go out and do a crossword puzzle. If you feel yourself stressed, if you can bend down, try to do a couple push-ups, but don't just sit back and say, well, because my bills are stacking up, I'm going to go to KFC and pack it on. I mean, that's just totally something you don't want to do.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't interested in these kind of discussions. And this is the sad thing about it. When you're saying something to help prolong life and people aren't interested in it, then you see where our mindset is. And we do have a mindset that's pretty warped now as a people, because these are the tips that would help us, but a lot of people don't want to hear this. And that's the sad thing about it. Here's something else we can look at. It says eating healthy prevents obesity. Talk about how eating healthy helps us.
It makes you feel a lot better. You're not as lazy and lethargic. In fact, they say when you eat healthy, as far as people who have morning jobs, you can get out of bed early. You're more vibrant. You're upbeat. Instead of when you see somebody, you can tell when they're eating a lot of processed foods and things like that. So I would say eating healthy does a lot for the mental, and then just overall, you feel like a lot more younger. You don't need to take supplements or a whole bunch of things for energy. When you eat healthy, you naturally have good energy.
And let me elaborate on that as well, because to be quite frank with you, the body is not made to be shoving these things into it the way we do. The body is not made to continue to eat and eat and eat. The body wasn't made for that. And I don't think that a lot of us look at the body for what it's really worth and what it was made for. And because of our upbringing, we never had discipline, as you mentioned. So we had a bad relationship with food. And so we are angry now because they see people like us trying to help each of us, and they don't want to hear it. And so it goes back to, they don't realize what this vessel is for.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Sure.
Places like Golden Corral, China Harbor, all these fast food places that advertise where you can eat as much as you want. This isn't a right or wrong question. This is just, I want to ask you, what is your take? Do you think that those restaurants like that should be shut down, or do you think people should just have more discipline? What do you think about those all-you-can-eat buffet restaurants?
I think that second answer that you gave is it, because we can't shut down the restaurants. They're there to make a living as well, and I get that. But I think we don't need to live at that place. I mean, if we eat there every blue moon, then that's fine. Right. But eating there every other week, and then we complain about our finances because it's expensive now to eat out. Oh, yeah. But so we won't shut them down, but we will at least monitor how many times we go to these places. And go ahead.
See, Big Brother, I want to take it just one step further. The customers that go there and eat, if you look at them, most of them are on the much more heavier side. And I don't think that they have the discipline to say, you know what, I'm only going to get one plate and I'm going home. Or I'm going to get 2 plates and a soda and I'm going home. they pack it on. So that's why I was kind of leaning somewhat towards to maybe just shutting it down, because I don't think our people can just shut it down completely. It's bad when those China Harbor and they are making money hand over fist.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, though. You know, if you shut that place down, they're going to find another place to go to. So you can't. You'll be shutting. There will be no restaurants around if that's the case. And I think modesty is an important issue here. You have to be modest. You can eat there, but you can't live there, as I said earlier. And I think that's where the problem lies. We don't know how to turn it off. We can keep going, but we can't turn it off. And I think that's very crucial when it comes to our health. And this is why a lot of us are dying. Now, I want to see if I can bring this video up that's important, and see if we can see what this video is telling us about our health.
Currently, 1 in 3 children and adolescents is either obese or overweight. Obesity affects youth of all races, ethnicities, and income levels in all 50 states. Obesity has been labeled a childhood epidemic, and unfortunately, it leads to serious health problems. We are seeing more children and adolescents develop health problems that previously were primarily in adults, such as cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, and impaired glucose levels, high blood pressure, social problems and poor self-esteem, sleep disturbances and sleep apnea, and orthopedic problems. Children and adolescents who are obese have a 70 to 80% chance of becoming overweight or obese adults. Overweight and obese adults are at greater risk for heart disease, cancer, and stroke. These are leading causes of death among adults in the United States. A number of factors contribute to obesity, including lack of physical activity, sedentary lifestyle, unhealthy diet, and environmental factors. The good news is that these factors are controllable and reversible.
Now, yeah, I want to bring something up, Chaz, because I think it's important that we actually say that. And that is the thing that stood out with me. What the young lady said is that we can control diabetes, high blood pressure. We can control those things.
Right.
But yet every year we see those illnesses skyrocketing, especially in the African American community. And so my challenge to all of us is, since we know this to be a fact, we see our grandparents with it, we see our parents with it, we see our siblings with it, and we are still ourselves having to struggle with it because we don't know how to cut back until we get to a point in our lives where we can maintain a healthy lifestyle that's going to relate to us living longer. And that's what I'm not getting. She's giving us information. We're giving information as to how to cut back. But people aren't interested in that. And that's the thing that blows my mind when someone tries to share with you how to live and you're saying, I don't want it.
First of all, to the video, the lady was spot on as far as like our kids, and we talked about this. They're not exercising. All they want to do is sit on the cell phone and sit under a fan or air conditioner and just watch TikTok and Instagram all day. They're not getting enough water, and then the parents are flooding them with fruit gushers, chocolate chip cookies. All that stuff is just stacking up. But let me ask you this on the environmental part. I'm starting not to really buy that anymore, because here's the thing. Just because you live in the ghetto, I know back in my day, people in the hood, a lot of the females they used to get jump ropes. And I thought back on this, they would get jump ropes and they'll be on the sidewalk just jumping rope, and there'll be a few sisters on the end holding the rope, and those kids will be jump roping for about 20 minutes. That was exercise back. What happened to that? What happened to kids going out jump roping for 20 minutes? But now it's a society to where everything is on the internet. And like I said, those days where those kids would jump rope and stuff like that, it really brings tears to my eyes now, because it's like that type of generation, at least they somewhat were conscious of exercising.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're right. Those are the days of the past, because a lot of parents, and I go to the parents because children will be children. Children like to play, children like to eat, children like to do things that children do because their minds aren't developed. But it's us parents, man. It's the adults who are not making sure that our children get exercise.
Right.
It's the adults who are not making sure that our children get their vegetables. And so you have a nation that has gotten out of control.
Yes.
And this goes to my next point. We must rid bad habits, because those bad habits, they will prevent obesity. We should rid those bad habits. Ridding bad habits is going to stop obesity.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if you go to McDonald's or some fast food place, why do you have to have 3 Big Macs? Why can't you have one? Why can't you eat a half of one or cut back until you don't want it until like once a month? It could be done, and I'm making it sound easy, but it goes back to, there are a lot of habits we have. Smoking. We sometimes we just sit around and we don't even want a cigarette or a drink, but because it's a habit, see?
Right.
We're not working on those habits, man.
Right. The bad habits are terrible. Like you just said, cutting back and having discipline is a tough thing to gain. If you can't gain it, I would say just slowly start to try to practice and cutting back. Second of all, like you mentioned with the smoking and stuff, it's bad. So let's calculate. Let's say a person eats out at KFC and Wendy's and all these places 3 times out of the week. And then after every meal, they drinking beer, they smoking dope. And then you add on top of that, they're always looking for a dessert. You got any some of that sake to me cake? You got some of that butter pecan pie? I mean, these things are going to eventually, it's going to backfire on you.
And it already has, because we're really walking death is what we are. We're just walking death. And this is why we talk often about exercising.
Yeah.
If I just walk, you don't have to walk an hour every day. Some of us can't do it anyway.
Right.
But to get out and just exercise, or exercise at home, find things. We like social media so much. Go on YouTube and see exercises that one can do at home, and do those exercises 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes every other day. Get outside and walk. But these messages we're not getting, man. And that's why I think a lot of us are just eating ourselves to death.
Yeah. I want to give you your credit real quick. When we were texting the other day, you told me that you were getting your 2 miles in. I'm smiling at the phone. I'm like, wow, my dad is actually practicing what he's preaching. So I give you credit for that.
Yeah.
For like the exercising part, like I said, it releases endorphins. This is a feel good thing that's in the body, and you feel good after a workout. You go out, get you some vitamin D. You're actually in nature. And now here's some who I would say this is kind of iffy. It depends on the person. It's called grounding. Now, basically, a grounding is when a person takes off their shoes and their socks. Now, I'm not saying to go out and do this every day, but if you ground, you're supposed to be getting back in touch with nature, and it actually cuts down on inflammation. So you do these kind of activities, these things that help you feel better, but you must exercise. I can't say it enough. You got to exercise.
I know. We want that easy, quick fix where we can sit around and wish things away, or pray things away, or meditate things away. And that's not going to get it. And this is why we have to look at videos to show us that this is a serious matter within our community, which I want to go to this one. And hopefully we can shed light on this as well.
Obesity rates continue to go up in our country. Researchers at UT Health Northeast and Tyler studying obesity specifically in the African American community. Now, our expert says obesity directly correlates with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes, also telling us that the society needs to be better in addressing obesity as a disease.
The reason it's important to me is because a lot of people don't understand that this is a disease that is very important as far as your health overall.
It was more so of a lifestyle change for me. It started out 2 miles a day and worked my way up to where I was doing 8 miles a day.
Wow, that's impressive. Hawkins also says getting the weight off is only half the battle. He says maintaining your weight is the hardest thing afterwards.
Yeah, now I want to talk about that. They said maintaining afterwards, because we're not out of the woods once we start working out in getting ourselves together. But you know, a lot of us, we have so many, and I'm going to be frank here. We have a lot of psychological issues, man.
Yes.
And from a psychological perspective, our minds have been ravaged so much that we don't know how to fix the problem. And this is why people don't watch broadcasts like this faithfully, because they know we're going to talk about health. So they don't want to face the demon that they're dealing with. And I think a lot of us have to come to grips with, we're killing ourselves and we're killing our children, and yet we're ignoring it because we are so messed up from a mental perspective, and we don't want to say, I need help. That's what I need. And this problem is going the way it's going.
Let me ask you this. There's a quick fix. A lot of famous people are doing this, and a lot of local people are doing this, where there's this shot. I want to say it's called a diabetic shot. It's something to where you can get you can lose weight rapidly within like 2 or 3 days, or you can go out and get this surgery. I think Monique got it. What's your opinion on brothers and sisters who say, you know what? I don't want to work out. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not going to the park. I'd rather just go and get this shot and get this weight off in 2 days like that. What's your take on that?
My take is that's playing Russian roulette. That's a dangerous thing to do, because even if you get the surgery, you still can't eat anything you want, because if you get that surgery and you eat and eat and eat, you can mess up the surgery because they're going to shrink things, and you can actually die from that. And because of our mindset isn't strong enough, I wouldn't advise a person to do it unless they were psychologically strong enough. And then when they do it, they have to continue to keep it up. Now, we're going to talk about this later on in the broadcast. They say that a lot of women, when a woman has a baby, they gain weight. Right. A lot of times they never get back in shape because they so used to being big, and then they get lazy and lethargic. And men, when men have surgeries, a lot of us, we sit around and do nothing. And then when we get well, we don't even go to therapy. So here you have a lot of factors that is really killing us. And I just think that that's something that we have to really look at, which brings us to the next point. We must avoid sedentary lifestyles, because that prevents obesity. So a sedentary lifestyle means sitting around, watching TV, not doing anything, sitting in a chair, twiddling your thumbs, reading books, looking at Facebook, looking at YouTube, looking at Twitter all the time. Now, people don't see the dangers of that. Even when we read, we can't just read and don't do anything else. So we have to avoid sedentary lifestyle. And that's one of the things that I often stress to my students. We don't do gym every day, but we went to the park today. We go to the park on many occasions because kids need exercise. Sitting around the house on a cell phone all day, on a tablet all day, is very bad. And I go back to the parents, because many of the parents won't stop them from doing it. In fact, they give it to them so that they won't be in their hair.
That's sad. And I'm glad that you do that with your students, getting them back outside to exercise, because it's important. And like you mentioned, that's the number one way to die quick. When you sit back in a chair, and like you said, when you sit back on Facebook, sit back on Twitter, you sit back on TikTok, you're not getting enough exercise. Let me say this too. With a lot of this technology that we have, that makes it no better. These phones that we're on now, they're constantly blasting us with radiation. They're constantly blasting us with things that are detriment to our health. So the people who are operating these weapons are laughing, saying, look, this guy doesn't do anything. All he does is sits at home and watches BET all day. Okay, let's flood him with some radiation. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you can't even get out of a bed because you're just messed up.
And, we talk about the public schools sometimes in a negative light, but that's one thing about the public school. You're going to get some gym. You're going to get some exercise. You're not going to sit in that. You're not going to you're not going to sit in that room all day. You're going to go to PE and you're going to do something. And that's a good thing. So I got to give them and take my hat off to them, because you're going to get some kind of activity. You're not going to just go to class and not go outside. You're going to do something.
And look, they'll fail you. I remember a few partners I had back in the day. They got F's in PE. All you had to do was All you had to do was show up to PE, but because they didn't show up, and when they did, they were lazy. You got an F because they didn't. They just were sitting back, just talking and laughing with their friends.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Let's look at one more tip, and then we'll look at another video. Seriously committing to taking care of one's health prevents obesity. And that's what I keep saying, Chaz. And I want to slow this down when I say this because I'm as serious as a heart attack. A lot of us aren't serious, man. Yeah. We may want to do things to lose weight, but we're not serious. Mm-hmm. We may start off one day and do something. We won't eat sweets for a day, but we'll find ourselves doing it again. And that goes to not just having a weak mind, but a lot of us aren't serious, and we don't like to talk about how if this is going to be done, you can't play with this thing, man.
First of all, you're spot on. I think a lot of people, when they don't get those instant results within like a day or two, they get demoralized and they quit and they feel like, okay, well, what am I putting my body under all this stress for when I'm not seeing any results? So then they go back to their old habits. And then in fact, because if they've been detoxing from sugar or if they've been detoxing from McDonald's and KFC, if they don't see results, they go back and they're packing on harder, Ja. They're going harder at this.
Yeah. And let me be rude. Let me be rude and interrupt you because I'm really not a rude guy, but I'm gonna interrupt you because I agree with you 100%. But I want to say this before I forget it.
Okay.
We have to realize something. It didn't take us, like you mentioned, they want instant results. It didn't take us one day to put this weight on.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna take one day to get it off.
Right.
This is an accumulation of all the things we put in our bodies. And that shows a psychologically damaged person to think that if it doesn't happen in a week or 2 weeks or a month or 3 months or 6 months, this thing takes time, man. It didn't take us that. It took us ever since we were little kids to get to where we are.
Yeah.
And so what makes us think that it's going to go away with just a few visits to the gym?
Because of some of the commercials, like you see some of these weight loss programs on TV and they say, brother Eric lost 48 pounds in 2 days. So people feel like, okay, if he's doing that, then let me get in the gym and see if I can do that. Well, the thing is, they're probably taking supplements that are terrible. Just because you go to GNC and get those pills that help you lose weight in 2 days, that's not good. Because like you mentioned, you pack it on a little bit tougher once you come back from detoxing. And then on top of it, people have what you call a microwave mentality. If they can't get it now, they don't want it. And to those people out there, I would say practice endurance, practice strength, and practice running this thing for the marathon instead of instant results.
That this is true. Let's see here. I think I showed that, but I want to go to this one here. Hopefully, this is one that we haven't looked at yet. Yeah, we've already seen that one. So let me get out of there because I really want to show something that talks about obesity in the African American community. Let's see if we got something here. Let's see, obesity among our youth. I think we saw that. I don't know. Maybe we'll. No, here it is. Black women.
Feet hip distance apart. I want you to stretch up high.
This is how a grassroots movement to save Black women gets started.
Get our arms moving, get a little sweat going.
With one simple commitment.
Let's go.
Walk 30 minutes. 5 days a week, every single week of the year. So how do you feel right now?
Oh, I got my Girl Check glow on. I feel great. It's beautiful back there.
Yes, rejuvenated.
Vanessa Garrison and Morgan Dixon were career-minded go-getters. They saw themselves sliding into a lifestyle with lots of stress and little exercise.
We were facing a crisis in our own families around obesity-related diseases that stem directly from inactivity.
And this was an SOS to my friend where I said, I don't want this to happen. What are we going to do about it?
2 years ago, they started Girl Track, and it's grown into a national movement, 18,000 strong.
Remember, only one rule, we leave no woman behind.
Using social media to organize events around the country.
Reaching 150,000 on our Facebook page.
It's imperative to reach as many as possible. 4 out of 5 Black women in the U.S. are overweight, and more than half of all Black women are considered obese.
We are dying faster and at higher rates than women in every state from preventable diseases like diabetes, like some cancers. I mean, so that is directly related to the way we care for our bodies.
Why do you think that is?
On the priority list of things in a Black woman's life, unfortunately, health has fallen down the priority line.
Come on, ladies, let's hustle it out. Do your personal best, your personal best.
All they ask of women is 1/2 hour.
How much were you exercising before Girl Trek?
Every blue moon.
Did you worry about what example that was setting?
Yes, that's why I forced her to
daughter?
come with me. Yeah.
Girl Trek wants to inspire more mothers and daughters to walk together.
It allows us to be closer.
She likes to bond.
This is my personal best right here, right here. This is it.
The founders of Girl Trek say the seed has been planted.
This walking revolution that is happening, and so there's no possibility that things aren't going to change.
Our hope is to, by 2018, galvanize 1 million women to walk with us, and that's big.
All right, ladies, let's head to the victory bridge.
All right, good job. Let's go.
Chris Lawrence, CNN, Washington.
Finish strong. Let's go.
Now you see, Chaz, that right there is a success story.
Motivation.
It really is. See, and it can be done. And I wrote down 2 things that stood out to me. The first thing is they were sacrificing. Those sisters sacrificed. And then number 2 is who's going to start a program in our community like that without look, it doesn't have to be where they are. You mean to tell me sisters can't get on the internet and says, hey, I'm going to start a class where we're just going to walk for 15 minutes. All the ladies that's struggling, we don't have to go, 15 miles, but let's just go to a park and start an organization. Who's going to have the mindset and the wherewithal to say, let's do something about it? Because we talk too much, man, and we don't do anything about our condition.
Like you mentioned, I don't think a lot of people in the community aren't going to do that. They're not going to go on Facebook or Twitter and say, you know what, all the people who are overweight, men, women, kids, girls, let's go out to this local park and let's jog or walk for 15 to 10 minutes. They're not going to do that. So like you mentioned, it starts with the self. You have to tell yourself, go to YouTube, type in motivational speeches, type in motivational prep talks before boxing matches, to get yourself going, because I'm here to tell you, nobody's going to hold our hand to come and make you say, you know what? I mean, I love telling people this, but nobody's listening to me. So I say, you know what? I want the best for that person. So in the meantime, if you want to get yourself in shape, you got to put yourself to the test and tool. And real quick to that video, I like towards the end, the daughter, she was with the mother. Even though the daughter could have been doing everything, but she said, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice 30 minutes to go walk to get my mom in better shape.
That is awesome. Yes, it is. And this brings us to the next point, which is this. They challenge one another. I noticed they were challenging each other. But see, when you challenge me, I get angry and I don't want you to come talk. When you say, hey, brother, let's go for a walk today. Let's do 2 miles. Instead of me saying, you know what? I really need to do that. I'm going to get my little gear and let's just go at a nice slow pace, but let's go. We walk and talk.
Right.
But instead of me saying that, I'm going to get angry with you and tell you, don't ask me to do that. You know I don't walk. And that shows my ignorance.
Right.
You're trying to help me.
Right.
But if you say to me, let's go smoke some dope, let's go do something stupid, then I'm ready to do that.
Right.
So we need to challenge each other. If I see you next month and I notice you're gaining weight, you best believe me, I'm going to say, man, you look like you putting some weight around the midsection.
Yeah.
Let's do something, or why aren't you doing it? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But they say, stay in your lane now, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
But you're dying though.
Can I sidestep real quick? And
Sure.
I do this sometimes. COVID messed us up big time. I noticed the people before and after COVID, we were all in our houses. We couldn't go to the park. We couldn't go to the gym. Everything was shut down. I would say that really caused a lot of our weights. A lot of people really gained a lot of weight during COVID because everybody was at home. But my thought process, well, if the gyms and stuff are closed, go get you a jump rope. jog in your neighborhood. Be creative. Just because the gyms and stuff are closed doesn't mean to just sit back at home and do nothing. So let me ask you real quick, why do you think when COVID happened, people who were into exercise, they just stopped all completely?
I think we got lazy. And that may not be the answer, but personally, I think we got lazy. We got used to sitting around. We got used to eating. We got used to doing things that doesn't really exercise the body, because some people did things at home, those who are serious. And so sometimes we can get late. Man, listen, if we work out and we stop, sometimes that's dangerous because many of us aren't motivated to get it going again.
Yes.
You know, we some of the things that we can do, we don't have to leave our house, man. We can walk in place. We can walk in front of a TV. You know, we can go to get those stretch bands and put them on the door. We can do all kinds of things to help us. So what I'm trying to get at is a lot of us don't want to do it, and we have to accept the fact that many people talk a good game, but they're not interested. Or they're like fair weather friends.
Yeah.
They get excited and they'll do it for a month, and then they'll stop.
Yeah.
Then they'll do it again for 2 weeks, and then they'll stop. And it's always an excuse. It's always an excuse. When you say, why aren't you consistent? It's an excuse.
But here's the thing, it shouldn't be an excuse. In fact, Amazon has little cheap foldable treadmills. You can get one for about $300.
They don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it. Wow. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I'd rather be a realist, because if you look at us as a community, as a people, you see how we look. And a lot of people don't want to hear the truth. And this is why this broadcast is important. A lot of people don't want to look at this because they know that we're talking to them as well as ourselves.
Right.
And they don't want this, man. Then they'll talk about something that's off the cuff when they know their kids, their grandkids, themselves, their siblings. We're big as houses. And at some point in time, either we're going to have this discussion to do something about it, or we're going to leave this earth because of the things that we shoved in our faces.
And the sad part is that, and like I said, let me make myself clear. I don't want this to happen to anybody, black, white, Jap, Chinese, no one. But when we get that phone call, Josiah or Brother Jahi, your cousin Chris is in the hospital and he's hooked up with all kind of tubes and that kind of thing, then we want to, get serious and go try to, preach the gospel and stuff to him and tell you, to work out, when he should have been doing that before he got to the hospital.
Well, I want you to see a straight shooter. This is a straight shooter right here.
I would ask you, what do you think are some of the top reasons that our community, the elderly,
yes,
the middle-aged, tragically, the youth,
yes,
are walking around in such ill health, and oftentimes that is as a result of flat out being too fat,
yes,
flat out obesity. What most contributes to that?
Addiction, food addiction. The food system is a drug. There's $1 billion industry that's designed to keep people addicted to what kills them. We're addicted to our own genocide. We're not addicted.
Oh Lord, folks, listen to that. I'm doing a little Deion Sanders here right now, but listen to that. We are addicted to our own genocide. I'm sorry, Nate.
Yeah, we are, because every other element of what we call white supremacy, we're not addicted to those. We're not addicted to being broke. We're not addicted to being shot by the police. We're not addicted to this. We're not addicted to that. A lot of us are even coming to the understanding of overcoming, even in the religious atmosphere, the white Jesus concept. But that food, those donuts, that fried chicken, it is the ultimate, it's the ultimate test of overcoming the whole system. And we're losing that by a landslide to the point where we want to ignore it. And so that's why messages like what I preach, I'm not the most popular one.
Yeah.
If I was preaching black finances, 1,000 people in the room. Yeah. If I was preaching black, if I was holding rallies to, for the criminal justice system, the school to prison pipeline, all important issues.
Yeah.
But when you talk about sheer numbers, it is indisputable that poor health is what's killing us. And yet, and so the foundation should be health. And then when you have excellent health, then you build on top of those things. But because of addiction, we want to kind of push that to the side and focus on everything else. And the results are disastrous.
That's a handful. What a handful.
I don't call myself going to anybody's church. But if that brother had a ministry in San Antonio, the way he's talking,
yeah,
I would have to go visit occasionally,
right?
Because he's a minister and I don't hear ministers talking like that. I hear him talking about getting money and all this other stuff. But here is a man that says he's not popular. Notice what he said. I know they don't like him.
Yeah,
they don't even like it when we do these kind of broadcasts.
Yeah.
If we were up here talking about shake your rump and all that stuff, then we'd have 50 million followers.
Yeah.
But you see, he said that people don't want this, and he sounds like me, but at the same time, I feel that's a refreshing message because he's not beating around the bush. He's shooting straight to the heart, and that's our problem. We are addicted, and nobody wants to say that.
Yeah, he's spot on. Like you mentioned, the things that are important that we need to talk about, nobody wants to hear. But foolishness, which is kind of stupid at times, really gets pumped up. But back to the video, which he mentioned, the food. It's terrible when you think about this, where all our lives, and I know it's tough, all our lives we've been eating a certain way, and now we get a certain age, we have to adjust. It's either you adjust or you going 6 feet deep early. It's just that simple.
Yeah, that's true. I want to see if I have another video, but if not, I know I have something that we can share. In fact, I'm going to share this real quick. I want to share this, and this is something that we need to talk about. It's talking about World Obesity Day and the causes of obesity beyond diet and exercise. And it starts talking about the genes, which I've always disputed that because I believe that whatever our parents gave us, we're feeding our children. So I kind of always kick that to the curb. But the lifestyle factors, it says a lack of sleep. See, we can't keep eating like we're eating and never getting the proper rest. And if we have issues with insomnia, then we need to get something that makes us sleep. We have to get our proper rest. We can't continue to burn the candle at both ends.
Right.
And then it says high levels of stress. Then it says disturbed hormones. There are some of us who hormones, like you may be able to eat, 2 Subway sandwiches, 6 inches to a foot long, and it may not do much for you. I may eat 2 of them and I'm going to get a little bit swollen because that's what happens. But we have to look at our hormones, man.
Yeah.
And we don't look at our hormones. That's why we try to be like other people. And then also, it affects our weight, which I wanted to talk about this BMI before we got done, which is the body mass index.
Yeah.
And somebody might say, what is body mass index? Basically, body mass index has to do that, make sure that our weight is comparable to our height.
Okay.
See, we don't look at that because most of us are overweight, and a lot of us don't know it because all we have to do is put on some clothes and somebody's going to say, you look good. And if 5 people say you look good in those clothes, they don't know that you're overweight, but because we love those clothes, so psychologically, here we are going and buy clothes so we can make a comment on how we look. You get a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
And this is why we need to deal with this whole idea of the body mass. You can get these on your phones. One of my relatives told me the other day that they have an app now. I don't know the name of it, but he said they have an app where they will pay you to walk. No, they don't pay you a lot, but they'll pay you to walk as you accumulate miles.
Before I forget, brother, let me say this real quick. For all the people, and I was misled, there's a stupid thing going around now called the 10,000 steps per day crap. Listen, that is almost impossible. 10,000 steps per day. I mean, this is why we have to, when we get information, look at what we're going to. Now, the reason why I say that's impossible, I went to YouTube and a lot of other sources to see how many people who were doing this. A lot of the people who were doing that 10,000 steps per day challenge, they were getting injured at a high rate. 10,000 steps, that is too much. Now, I would say if you're in good health, to at least get maybe 1,000 steps a day. That's something like 10,000 steps a day. And everybody that I listen to and I asked, I said, well, what happened to you, brother? What happened to you, sister? Plantar fasciitis, knee giving out. That is way too many steps. And the doggone people who gave that information, that's a shame. They can't even be trusted because it's like, I can't even get good advice from a health person. And the person who created it, they know that was to our detriment. 10,000 steps a day.
Well, that scared a lot of us off right there when you said 10,000, because we're not even going to do 500 steps a day. But it's terrible how people can take advantage of those who really want to do it right, and then you mislead them that way, which brings us to this here point. We have to love ourselves. Excuse me. We must love ourselves enough to take better care of ourselves. Nobody's going to love you the way you should love yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take care of you the way you should take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us say we love ourselves, Chaz, and sometimes I have to scratch my head when I hear that, because if we truly loved ourselves the way we talk about, this is the new thing now. This is the new fad. Everybody's talking about love yourself, learn yourself, know yourself, all those good things, and you should do all of that. But I'm telling you now, we don't love ourselves the way we say we do, because if we loved ourselves, we would not shove all of that stuff into our system the way we do.
I agree. And I think a lot of it has to do with too, brother. I think a lot of people, let me say this, they mean well. They really mean to get up and exercise. Some of them may really mean to lose weight. But I think it has two factors. Number one, discipline. And number two, they don't have someone constantly motivating them to want to work out and eat. So like you said, I believe people do love themselves, but it's just, it's a lot of factors, brother. I really believe that.
It is. And I'm looking at the end result, because true love, even if you're weak-minded, and you can't get the love that you need, your self-love, then search for it, seek for it, read, study, meditate, do something to get it. Because once you truly love yourself, you're not going to let yourself go the way a lot of us let ourselves go. Because a lot of us, we let ourselves go to the degree that it's detrimental to us, and it really has taken its toll on us.
Could you explain on that previous slide about the obesity chart that you just showed? I think you forgot to talk about it. You said that when women get pregnant, they gain weight, and then all of a sudden they just stop. Could you just explain why you think that happens?
Yeah, because we get in a mindset.
When they get pregnant.
Right, when they get pregnant, for the 9 months, they're just sitting around, basically. Now, they should be walking even when they're pregnant. But those who sit around, it's a developed condition. So they develop this condition of lethargicness and being just sedentary, sitting around. So they have the baby,
right,
and the weight is on them. And instead of saying, I have to do something to get back to where I used to be, they let it go and they live. Then they may have another baby. And before you know it, they look different when you see them. And it's like they can't help themselves from the standpoint of they can do something about it, but in their minds, they don't want to do what it takes to get back. You have to exercise.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all of us. You don't have to have a six-pack. You
right.
don't have to be ripped. But we're just talking about basic things to do that so that you will be around here. A lot of us leave this earth, man, at an earlier age than we really should. And it be because what we're putting in our systems.
Like you said, and I told you this a few broadcasts ago, when you exercise, for the sisters who have been pregnant, who have had children, say, you know what, this talk is motivating me, let me get up. Let me just say this. Because you don't look like Gabrielle Union, because you don't look like J-Lo, you think that you're working out in vain. You're not. Just because you don't have a six-pack does not mean that you're not in shape. You can be in shape and not be, you know, with a six-pack with oil and stuff coming all off of you. So I think we need to put a new system in our head that you don't have to be this TV star to work out. You can have a casual body and still be in shape.
That's true. And this is why I put this back up here, because this is the chart that's really just, it's gut-wrenching. It really is, because we don't look at this chart and say, oh my goodness. We look at this chart and just say, well, look at those little colors. But when you look at what these colors represent something dangerous.
Yes.
And a lot of us don't, you know, it's like the older we get, the more childish we get.
Yeah.
We don't see, and people will look at this broadcast And instead of saying that was some good information, I'm going to put this information in my life, I'm going to start exercising, they're going to talk about you and I as far as who they think they are. Y'all were too hard on the people. Y'all see, they're missing the boat. And this is what's wrong with many black people, many African Americans, descendants of the enslaved. We get off the chart so fast. Well, it's the way y'all said it. It has nothing to do with that. It's what we say.
Right, or what they had on, because they didn't have a suit with a Rolex watch on. They weren't talking. That's so, and I hate when people come at me sideways with that, because I get feedback here and there where people say, "Well, look what he had on." So what? You listen to the message and real. Oh, go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. I want to cut you off. Go ahead. You're on a roll now.
When we drink our water, I forgot to dump this out. There's a thing called microplastics. Mm-hmm. Microplastics, they said there's a study that are found that are in the heart, meaning all the plastic bottles that we drink, Gatorade, water, etc. There's little bitty tiny particles that are in there. Once you consume that throughout the months, days, and years, these things go into the heart. They cause cancer. They cause all kind of terrible health issues. So I would suggest all my water drinkers are just people who shop at gas stations. When you drink or get a bottle like this, take it and immediately pour it out into like a stainless steel mug or anything, because you may not be able to cut back on all the microplastics, but doggone it, you're going to cut back on a lot of it if you just take it and you dump this water or Gatorade into a stainless steel mug or a cup or what have you.
Well, you know, I just learned that from you, because I mean, I drink my water out of the plastic bottles every day. And so I drink 5 or 6 of them. And so I'm going to take that. Now, this is what I'm saying. I got to practice what I preach. I'm going to take what you just said, and I'm going to start dumping that into something that's, because I have the stainless steel, but I'm just so used to grabbing the plastic and twisting the top and counting the bottles to make me have 5 under my belt. I have 6. So I'm going to start doing that, because I haven't heard that before. And it's like I'm listening to it. I'm saying, he's talking to me. So you see, people don't want to be challenged, man. And the older we get, the sillier we get. Yeah. We can't take the truth. And it's like, this message, it should go to the heart. Yeah. But a lot of people will be angry because we're trying to save them. And I don't understand that.
And I think once it's over, this broadcast, I'll send you the quick 30-second video about the microplastic thing. But that's definitely something for myself, too. I used to drink a whole bunch of water through the plastic bottles, but when I did research and found out, and it's not only the microplastics that's in there, they're also flooding it with so much other chemicals. And I have to see the video and it'll refresh my memory, but it's so much stuff in those little plastic bottles. That's why they're so cheap. And this is another reason why they're recycling them. If you ever notice on some bottles, they'll say this bottle was recycled and it's 75% recyclable. You know why it's recyclable? Because they're killing us with these freaking bottles. And a bottle is what they're killing us with. A bottle.
Wow, this is mind-blowing. But yeah, we have about a minute or two to go, Chaz. I want to let you know that I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us as a correspondent, field reporter. I'll give you some last words and then we'll get out of here. But anything you want to say before you exit?
Yes, I appreciate you for having me on. And to all the people that listen, do not take my anger for me thinking I'm better or thinking I'm just better than people. It's because I want us to exercise. I want us to live a healthier lifestyle. And I don't want to get a phone call from any of you guys where you're in the hospital because you refuse to exercise or because you're eating too much greasy food. So I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this message and gained something from it.
All right. Thank you, Chaz. I'll talk to you later, bro.
Take care.
All right. Then this is an excellent broadcast, because that's what we do here. We talk about those things that we need to, and we speak out of love. So I want you all to know that we love you, and that's why we talk the way we talk. I'd like to say to all of you, I appreciate you watching this broadcast. We're going to continue to do broadcasts that's going to shed light on us. This is a broadcast that is a classic, because I've learned something today, and I got to start doing a much better job as well. So I'd like to say to all of you, Shem Imhotep, which means I'm going to leave, but I want you to have peace. I want to say to all of you, Uncle Josh Nev, which is I want you to have life, prosperity, and I want you to have good health. And the way to have good health is to look at the broadcast and do what we're asking all of us to do. Share the broadcast, like the broadcast, tell people about the broadcast, because we always hit issues that are hard, issues that we need to talk about as a community. So I thank you for tuning in to Adults Only. I am your big brother, Jahi, and tune in next week and we'll talk about some more valuable information. So once again, thank you for tuning in and hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of what's left of this day.